In this After Effects tutorial, we're going to use the motion tracker to track an instant message to a phone. Let's get started. Adding instant messages into video and film projects has been a super popular item since text messaging first appeared on the screen. And as there are a number of different ways to display a text message, there are an infinite number of ways to attach it to the phone in your shot. One of the easiest ways is to use the track motion feature in Adobe After Effects, and we're going to use it to attach the text information to the corner of the phone so that when the phone is moving, the text stays attached to it. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to first take our clip in the timeline. I'm going to double click it to open it up in a footage window or a layer window. Here it is in a footage window. Just resize. And I'm going to set a couple of in and out points. So they're already kind of set here. As the camera starts to move, I'm going to set an in point, and then right here, as the camera slows to a stop, I'm going to set my out point. Okay, so those are already set. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the clip in the project window, and we're going to drag it down to the Create New Composition icon, which will create a composition that is the same size, width, height, and duration as the clip that we just set in and out points for. So let's take a look at this. Oh, we don't need any audio, so we can turn the audio off. Boy, here's a ring ring. He picks up the phone, and right about here, right here, and maybe right here, yeah, maybe right about here, maybe a little earlier, he sees the message appear on the screen. So we don't really care about any of the information or any of the part of the timeline or the project before our current time indicator, but we are concerned with everything afterwards. So we're going to use this as kind of our starting point for this clip. Next thing we're going to want to do is we want to track motion. Now, if you don't have the tracker window visible in your project, then just go up to Window and select Tracker. Again, Window and Tracker to bring that back. And we want to track motion. We don't want to track camera. We'll save that for another time. We're not going to talk about the warp stabilizer because this is a dolly shot. We don't have any stray movement. We also don't want to stabilize motion because, again, there's no movement that we're trying to correct. We definitely want to track motion. That will open the clip in a layer window, not the footage window, but a layer window. And one of the first things that you will notice is in our viewer, we have this box appear, or a series of boxes that appear. The first box, or the inner box, is our feature region. This is the area that we want to track. The outer box is our search region, and this is the area that After Effects will look in the very next frame to see if the information that is in the feature region is present. The final portion of this tracker is the little crosshairs, and a lot of people think that the crosshairs is what is actually doing the tracking, and that's not really true. The attach point is where we're going to attach our layer. So we can actually take this attach point and move it outside the box if we want to, and we'll actually do that here in just a moment. So if we look at the back of this phone, there are a couple of really good places that we could track some information. We could, and maybe we could try just tracking both of these boxes at the same time. We have a luminance value that's very bright with the flash. We have an area that's also kind of a little bright with that phone. In fact, if we go down to the tracker window and we click Options, we can see all of the different ways that we can track information in this shot. We can track it on the RGB value, which is the color information. We can track it on the luminance information, which is contrast information, which is exactly what we have here, a white area against a dark black area. Or we could track something based on saturation, which is something we don't have in this shot. We had like a really intense orange or red against a blue or a light yellow background. We could use saturation in that way. But I think luminance is going to work for us right here. We could enhance the shot before it tries to match it, which let's try to do it without right now and see if we can make it work. This is progressive footage, so we don't have to worry about tracking fields, although if you're using 1080i or NTSC video, then track fields is something you should definitely use. The subpixel positioning works to try to refine the movement that is going on from frame to frame, and I think everything else is just fine. So let's go ahead and click OK. I'm going to resize this box. I'm going to try it right here just to see how well this works. And I'm going to take the search region and I'm going to bring it into maybe right about here. Now, there may be a lot of movement going on with this phone, and so we want to make sure that if the phone is moving left and right, that there's plenty of space to the left and to the right of the feature region to keep this locked in. Also, we want to make sure we have enough space on the top and bottom of the feature region to make sure that that as the phone moves, that the search region can find this information. And I think maybe trying it with both of these dots or both of these areas of interest are probably going to be our best choice. The next thing I'm going to do is take the attach point and I'm going to move it out here to the outer corner of the phone, because this is where I want the text message to appear, kind of floating off to the left of the corner of this phone. Once we have our options selected, once we have our feature and search region selected, now we're ready to track forward in the rest of our shot. Now beware, tracks aren't going to be perfect the first time. I mean, if you do get them to work perfectly the first time, congratulations. But many times, especially when you're starting out, you may lose tracking data. And if you lose tracking data as the track is going on, after you hit this play forward button, all you need to do is hit stop, and then we'll address that in a moment. So let's play this forward, and let's see how well our initial track does. And you can see right away it loses the track point completely. That's okay. We're just going to scroll back to the last known good track point, which appears to be right here. And so what happens? Well, it looks like the search region lost where that information was at, where the information in the feature region was. So maybe by increasing the height of our search region box, that will solve the problem. So we've gone back to our last good track point. Now we're just going to click the play forward button, and we see that it is indeed following that phone locked into position. So there we go. That's pretty good. So we only had one fail, and the reason why it failed is because our search region box just wasn't large enough. Now, the larger you make your search region box, the more calculations and the longer time that After Effects is going to have to process the shot from frame to frame. So it's good to keep your search region box just large enough, but not too large, if that makes sense. The end result, though, is that we have a fairly smooth tracking data from here to here. Now, what are we going to do with this information? I'm just going to back it up to our first frame right there. You'll notice that we have a reset and a faded out apply button down here. Well, the reason why we don't have an apply is because we have nothing else in our shot to apply this tracking data to. It would be very easy to drag in our text message clip and have it attached to that, but I know that I may need to massage the text message layer a little bit once I add it into the shot. So instead of just trying to attach and apply everything, all this tracking data to the text message, I'm going to add a new null object to our scene. Now, a null object, you should know this by now, is a nothing object. And nothing objects don't appear in the scene. They don't render, but they're a great way to anchor other things to our shot. So if we go back into our layer window and we select our video layer, you can see if we go under Edit Target, we can now apply our motion to this null layer. And when we hit OK, we can now hit Apply, and that will bring up the Motion Tracker Apply options. We can apply this tracking data to the X and the Y, the X only, the Y only. We really want to apply it to both the X and Y axis simultaneously. So we'll just select X and Y and hit OK. And there we have, right there at our attach point where we put the little crosshairs, is now where our null object resides. And if we play forward, we'll see that that null object sticks perfectly to that attach point. At this point, we can bring in our text message layer. And so I'm just going to drag it down here into the composition panel and release. just going to slide it down a little bit so it locks in to where our current time indicator is. And then I'm just going to parent the text message layer to the null object. And if we play this now, you'll notice that, hey, wait a minute, our text message is not where it should be. And that's because we can move that text message layer into position. I'm just going to highlight the position property. I'm going to right-click and select Reset. Now, how about we just set it to 0, 0, and that'll at least get us into the right ballpark of where this layer should be. Now I can use the X and Y values, and I can slide this up into the position that I want it to be, and I can be as exact as I need to. The other thing that I notice now is this text looks really kind of small in this shot, so I'm going to scale up this layer by about 200%, go back to my position, and reposition this layer one more time. Get all that space to the left of the boy. It's almost like we planned for the space to be filled with text messages. So now, because it's parented to that null object, our text message layer is going to move along with the null object. The null object, if we look at our null object, if we press the U key, you can press the U key twice, but we'll press the U key, you can see all the position keyframes that have been applied to the null object. Because the null object is moving and the text message layer is parented to the null object, we get our text message locked to the phone, and everything is awesome. So there you go. There's a single point tracker being used to insert our instant message into our shot. We used a simple tracker, just one is all we needed, and the shot looks really good. But can it be better? What happens if we need to have that text message move and rotate along with the phone? That's what we're going to learn next time.